Sometimes I just go right into drafting, and then my ideas kind of come out through that process of drafting. I'll have a point, and I'll be working on developing that point, and through the process of exploring that point, I start thinking of other things and kind of pursue the paper from there.
I found one of the best things for me to do is to keep a little notebook with me, because it's one of those things that when you're in the middle of writing a big project, you are constantly thinking about it. And so there are lots of different times when I'll be at dinner with my family and I'll think, oh, there's a great idea. And so if I keep a notebook in my pocket, in my purse, it really helps me to be able to write down those ideas that I'm not, as I'm thinking about them at various times. And then I keep all those sheets of paper and kind of bring them together, and so when I sit down for my block of writing, I have all of this in front of me to work with.
And map out what I want to say in the introduction, and then what the thesis statement is, and then just carefully sit back and map out all the major points, and then the conclusion. And so I'll take that map, and some people, it's an outline for them, but I'll take that map and I'll hold it in my hand, and that is what guides me as I'm writing that rough draft.
When it comes to writing for academic journals, most of the time I'm writing with a co-author, and so we kind of take turns, usually doing the heavy lifting. We say that the first person to write the original draft, and so if I'm doing that first draft, again, I'll try to go pretty quickly for starters and get the basic framework down.
It has a very skeletal structure as far as its flow, and I sit often for weeks or months just pondering it and chewing it over. When I'm done with that, when I feel like, I don't know, something in my mind kind of clicks where I kind of say, okay, that's the layout. The first drafting in actually, it goes very quickly.
I like to take a first pass at it and try to go pretty quick through that. I try not to backtrack a lot on that, and then come back and revise it. On the podcast, I'll do that usually twice, and then sometimes catch a few things as I'm saying it that maybe sounds funny as I'm reading it or whatever, and I might revise a few things in process there, but usually revise it about twice.
I have a lot of ideas, and I'll get those ideas on paper, and I may even have like a really good introduction that sounds like I'm going to, have this brilliant paper, this like brilliant idea, but when I get into it, I kind of lose that intensity, and so my papers will either kind of trail off, like going in different directions, or I know that I have to wrap it up, so I'll kind of have more of a forced conclusion that just doesn't fit the energy of the beginning of the draft. So those are two things I have to constantly work on, is how can I have a conclusion that satisfies, I guess, the proposal of the introduction.
And then I'll get to the very end of the process where I'll just keep rewriting the drafts over and over again until, I like what I see.
Working from an outline, I do a little draft, then I rewrite what I drafted, and then I rewrite what I rewrote, and so probably about 3 or 4 times I do the rewrite myself, and then I hand it off. And usually I like to have 2 or 3 other people read it so that they can give me some feedback on continuity, on holes, and on maybe some directions I didn't see.
I think probably the most difficult part of the process for me is editing, and that's just because I'm a terrible editor, so I always have to bring in somebody else who can help me with the editing process, because once I get to writing, getting it on paper is okay, and then it's just going through it and figuring out what's going to work and what isn't that makes it very difficult. So
The hardest part, is editing. I'm horrible at proofreading. I don't have the patience for it. I'm not a very detailed person. I'm an idea person, and so I think once I get the ideas down, and I like the flow of the ideas, it's hard for me to go back and edit it. So usually I try to get some help with that. I'll try to get my wife to read it, or I'll try to get a student to help me read it.
my ear is different than other people's ears because I was raised in English and Spanish, and so for me, I don't hear it the way that maybe I'm a native English speaker, but I don't hear it the same way as maybe other native English speakers do.
I think the one thing I struggle with the most with writing, editing. I hate the editing process, the revision process. I just hate going through it. I think it's like you have something that you truly love and you have to go through with a pen and mark it up. It's like I almost don't want to touch it because I've spent so much time and energy building this house, and all of a sudden you're telling me I have to rearrange everything, I have to tear it down. So I say my biggest frustration is the editing, the revising. I just hate it. But I try to overcome it by picking it up and looking at it and making some changes and then putting it away for a while. And then just go on with my life, and then to just go back and pick it up again and then work on it some more. So that's been one thing that really helps me out. Another thing is I love to hear what some of my friends have to say about what I'm writing. So I may go to a good friend and just ask for their honest advice, and then I have to walk out of the room or go somewhere else because I don't want to see what's going on as they are butchering the text. But I find that very helpful, just sitting down with someone you trust, a good friend, and then hearing what they have to say about your paper, and not that they're going to change your paper, but some thoughts, critical thoughts and suggestions that they have in terms of revising it and making it better.